What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the DEMENTED1 channel. I'm your host, Tex, and I've got an awesome guest here tonight, Zach Black, founder of the Satanic International Network. Zach, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Tex. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, definitely. When I set out to do these interviews this month, I was looking to get people that, in my opinion, are doing things to move Satanism and putting it out there in the forefront. And you were definitely on top of the list, man, because you're staying pretty damn busy with all the things you got going on. So, yeah, definitely glad to have you on, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it has been pretty busy lately. In fact, I had to work a little late today, so I didn't really have enough time to prepare for the show. I didn't really get a lot of my bling-bling, I did bring these as kind of an afterthought, I got my eye bling, other people's bling, and couldn't decide on a shirt. I don't know. Either going to wear, some of my bling shirts or some of these guys' bling bling shirts. I don't know, man. I got boxes of this stuff, but I guess we'll just roll with the way it is,
man. Well, Zach, man. Again, thank you for being on. Tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from or come from, and when you realized you were a Satanist and how you got on the path.
Sure, man. Sure. Yeah. I just noticed this holiday card in the background. Satanists aren't supposed to celebrate holidays, so. Get that close. All right. My story is really not that unique. I hear it time and time again when you talk to Satanists. I pretty much, my path really started as an individual first, probably around the age of 10. When I started to stop believing and really, applied critical thinking to common mythos like Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy. And kind of the next natural progression of that was to God. And none of it really made a lot of sense to me. Although I was raised Catholic, I wasn't really a strict Catholic. My parents were pretty flexible when it came to limiting or restricting what I was allowed to be informed of. So I don't know, around the age of puberty, around the age of 13, I started looking into the occult, looking into magic and stuff, and didn't really know where to start. So, of course, a lot of that, in fact, I'd say 95% of that shit is junk. It's just garbage. But that's the majority of stuff you're going to hit if you don't have any direction.
Right.
I went through a lot of Wiccan stuff, a lot of pagan stuff. A lot of it seemed really hypocritical, like people trying to summon forces within pentagrams that are supposed to protect you from the forces you were trying to summon.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
kind of contradicts itself. I mean,
absolutely, it does. I eventually stumbled across the Satanic Bible. I read it, and I was just like, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense. It really resonated with me, and I really felt for the first time that this is something that I can get on board with. This is something that I believe. This is kind of like a mirror into my own self looking at this book. Right. And I was blown away. I mean, I continued to read everything by Anton LaVey and Church of Satan. At that time, Anton LaVey was still alive, and I couldn't wait until I was 18 to join the Church of Satan.
Right.
I did in 1994. I joined the Church of Satan, and that was when LaVey was still alive. LaVey passed in 97. I joined the Church of Satan mainly because I wanted to show my respect for LaVey and his philosophy, and also I wanted to meet like-minded individuals. I wanted to meet other Satanists. I mean, this is 94, I mean, if there was an internet, it certainly wasn't like the internet that we know today with social networking sites and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all that shit. So
right.
I was lonely, basically, and lonely for my own kind. And I didn't really happen through the Church of Satan. I met a couple people, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I was like, wow, I hope these are not what all Satanists are like.
Right.
Talk about bling bling. The first Satanist I met looked like Glenn Danzig. And don't get me wrong, I like Glenn Danzig, but this guy walks around every day looking like Glenn Danzig and had a big back like the size of like a softball. I was like, Wilson, my brother, and yeah, I mean that's cool. It's a phase that people go through. I went through it too.
Right.
So I didn't really do anything but study. I studied all throughout the 90s and the majority of the 2000s, really just studied different types of occult, a lot of philosophy, psychology, sociology, a lot of books in the bibliography of the Satanic Witch, which if you guys run out of books to read, that's a great one. Fast forward up until 2008, 2009, I kind of a late bloomer on the internet. I got on, and started watching YouTube and started seeing other Satanists around on the internet. So although I was not big into social networking, didn't have a Facebook. I pretty much just used the internet to surf a little bit. Started really focusing on YouTube because it was really, for me, the first time to really communicate directly with other Satanists. And decided, I made some friends, made some enemies. But overall, at the time I figured, I like this guy, but I don't like the way he's doing this. Or I agree with this guy, but not in this light. And I figured to myself, you know what, why don't I just fucking do this? I think I can do it better. And I did. Got on YouTube. It was pretty successful. It was a little bumpy start like most of my projects. But, after a while, up to date, I think I've got 45,000 subscribers between my channels, which are Satanic International and my other channel, the Satanic Network, and 30-something million video views. So pretty much dominated Satanism on YouTube to this date. Not to make any comparisons, but Peter Gilmore's channel has like 4,000 subscribers.
Right.
Just
right.
A lot of that, I think, is because, a lot of these Satanists, including the Church of Satan, will get on and, they're always dressed in black or a black robe, and they have all these pretentious titles in front of their name, like High Priest, Magister, Warlock, Reverend, Fancy Pants.
Right.
And people have a hard time relating to people like that, and I think people can relate to me, sit back, have a beer, I'm a working man,
Right.
Do things in one take. I'm not pretentious. I don't, tell you something to try to make you think I'm bigger than life.
Right. Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
When I, I came into Satanism at an older age, and I remember getting on the internet and I said, let me check out YouTube, see if there's any Satanists out there making any videos. And of course, I found the LaVey's, his interviews and stuff, and then Gilmore's, and then some other COS. And then I found Zach Black, and I said, let me check him out. And you were down to earth. You got to the point, and you didn't give a fuck. You liked it or not. This is the way I think and feel. And if you don't like it, bye. And, I digged it, man. So yeah, totally. I've been following you ever since, man, on YouTube and everything. So definitely.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and I met a lot of really cool people on YouTube. Had a lot of good exchanges, and I ended up starting Satanic International Network in 2010. There's been a few different steps in the network. There's been a few different revisions of it, whatever you want to call it. And that was mainly intended to be a networking hub for Satanists to interact, because YouTube is kind of limited as far as like, somebody left a comment on my thing and did it,
Right.
It's limited interaction as far as you can only take it so far. Or I figured a social networking site like that has chat rooms, that has blogs, upload pictures, videos, forums, meetups, all that stuff, announce events, was a better way to really bring Satanists together. And it's the network itself started off, and it still is for the most part, intended for the use of all Satanists, for theistic Satanists, atheistic Satanists, spiritual Satanists, LaVeyans, any type of occult, any type of occultist, period, left-hand path practitioners. I mean, there's all kinds of people, even some Christians, some Muslims. We try not to distinguish between or be judgmental or be too selective. So long, our main criteria is intelligence. That's the main criteria. And if you lack intelligence, then regardless of your label, it doesn't really matter. If you're stupid, you're gone.
Right.
Yeah, and that's pretty much where we're at. We're still going. It's to this date is still the most successful social networking site for Satanists.
Awesome, man. So with your network and stuff, I mean, you're not like some organizations saying, well, if you don't believe strictly this way, then you're not a true Satanist. I mean, you let pretty much anybody come in, like you said. So as long as they don't act stupid, of course. But it's awesome, man. And you've got your satanic organization that you started. How did you get into that, and why?
I got into that recently. It's probably less than a year old, or right about a year old. Throughout Satanic International Network and YouTube and stuff, people have always said, you should try to start an organization. A lot of people that are kind of disenchanted with, say, the Church of Satan and other established satanic organizations that said, wow, these guys are defunct, these guys aren't doing anything, you have the ability to promote and some notoriety, you should use that to your advantage and create a new organization, something that's not outdated, something that's not become rigid. And at first I didn't want to do that because that was never my intention. My intention was simply just to have a networking hub for us to meet. But enough people said, yeah, if you had an organization, I'd want to be part of it. I want to do something, And after enough people, after enough years of saying that, I said, you know what, fuck it, let's do it. The worst that's going to happen is I'm going to fail. And I actually expected it to tell you the truth. But it's actually been quite successful. We're spreading chapters all over the world. Right now, we're focusing primarily on the United States, but Australia, Canada,
Wow.
and Europe is coming next. We just launched the UK stuff. We have several chapters throughout the UK. That's the only overseas one we have so far, but that's going to change once the local networks, local being in the United States, have worked out all the bumps and go through the trials and tribulations. So it's almost there.
That's cool that you're taking the time with it, though. Just before you just try to spread it out everywhere. Get it all, I guess, the way you really want it before it gets all over the world, so to speak. So that's pretty cool, man. Now, you mentioned you were a member of the Church of Satan. How or why did you decide to leave the Church of Satan, and how did that come about?
That primarily came about, I probably would have left a lot sooner. I didn't resign officially until 2010, but I probably would have left around 2000, 2001, except that it just wasn't that important to me at the time. I was like, whatever, membership card. I use it as a bookmark, and I don't know what lucky fucker got that book at a used bookstore, but it's there somewhere. And the Church of Satan really changed when LeVay died. When Gilmore took over, and also there's an administrative thumb wrestling match within the hierarchy of the Church of Satan. And then they just kind of went silent for a long period, and they just didn't really seem, I didn't get what I wanted to get out of the Church of Satan, and that could be my fault. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm willing to take, definitely part of the blame for that. It just seemed to me like, okay, I paid the $100. I wrote them. Didn't get a response. Sometimes I got a response, but it wasn't really the response I was looking for. And I ordered, stuff through the Church of Satan, like they had the Black Flame and the Cloven Hoof, their newsletters. I got about half of what I paid for, and it was just like, I just left a bad taste in my mouth after, years of trying to work with them. And even though they asked me in my initial application if I wanted to be a spokesperson in my area, that was back in like 95, but they wanted me to send like a VHS video of myself talking about Satanism so they could see how well I can articulate their principles and stuff like that. And I didn't have a problem with that, except for back in 1995, VHS, the camcorder was fucking expensive, man.
Yeah.
I delivered pizzas, man. I was just like, I wasn't capable of doing that. And so I just kind of, But I basically officially resigned in 2010. I basically had the attitude, and I still do, that the Church of Satan is pretty much defunct. It's pretty much not going anywhere. The Church of Satan was a cult of personality. It should have been called the cult of LeVay. And now that LeVay is gone, what's left is kind of an empty shell with a bunch of people parroting LeVay and not even doing it correctly on a lot of issues. And for me, it's not my bag of tea, and I don't diss on people that are members of the Church of Satan. After all, I was for 16 years. But for me, I don't really see that they have anything to offer me. And I also read somewhere that if you start to make any gain any headway that you have to, in regards to Satanism, start to get a name for yourself. If you're a member of the Church of Satan, you have to give credit to the Church of Satan.
Wow,
And
I know
that
that.
was bullshit because they never gave me credit or never really even acknowledged my existence. And now that I'm doing something that people are catching wind of, I'm supposed to give them, high fives? No.
Right.
So that was it. It was just time to leave, time to make it official. And I did that when I created Sin.
When you did leave and stuff with your videos, did you ever have any COS members come at you, dogging you or saying, hey, the typical thing, you're not a real Satanist now and stuff like that? I mean, did you have to deal with any of that after you left, or?
Yeah, I actually did. And I was to be expected. And, when I made that resignation video, I lost some friends, some cool people that were just, upset that I wasn't going to wave the banner of the Church of Satan. But that didn't surprise me. What did surprise me, though, that's only been happening over the last few years, I'd say 2 to 3 years, is I've met people on the internet and actually in real life that are not only Church of Satan members, but that are active with the churches as active members that actually are, kind of in the cool club within the Church of Satan. And I tried to get pictures with this one dude who lives locally, or he did a while back ago in San Diego. Met at a bar, had a few drinks, talked, a bunch of shop. Really cool dude. And I was like, I love to take pictures. I'm a social butterfly. And I was like, let's take a picture, man. And he's like, no. I'm like, why? He's like, no, I can't be seen with you, man. I'm like, why? He's like, because if you post these on Facebook and Church of Satan catches wind of it, that you and I are friends or even talking, it'll jeopardize my position. I'm like, and you really want to be part of an organization like that? He's like, yeah. He goes, it sucks, but yeah. He goes, and he's pretty high up there too. So it sucks that that's the position they take. So basically anybody that is aligned with me, whether, verbally or on paper, apparently the Church of Satan won't have anything to do with. So that's the way that's their stance. But,
see, man, that kind of, it reminds me, and I've said it before, but it reminds me a lot of the Christianity, the way they do things, man. If you don't believe like us, then, you're out. We're done with you. And that's the same way that they really act, man, toward people that leave or they don't, join them. And it's just crazy. It's really crazy, man.
I think the internet really fucked the Church of Satan up because before, they were the only big dog, and now that the internet is here, they don't have a way of controlling, Satanism anymore. I mean, before Satanism was the Church of Satan and a few authors that wrote books. I mean, granted, there were other organizations, but the Church of Satan was so well established that without the internet, there wasn't a way to really contact people, and now that the internet's here, a lot of people just bypass the Church of Satan, and it's like, what are they going to do? I mean, there's no need to it. I mean, if you want to meet Satanists, if that's your reason for joining the Church of Satan, like myself, back in '94, you don't need to join the Church of Satan. You fucking get on Facebook. There's how many fucking hundreds of satanic groups on Facebook? I mean,
right, tons, yeah, definitely.
Or a network like his or his.
Yep. I do want to ask you a question, though, concerning Satanism. What's your thoughts on people, because I've been hearing this a lot, and you actually made a video a while back about it, but what's your thoughts on people that say Satanist or racist? And Satanism's about racism and all of that.
Well, I think racism is funny, and I often use racist jokes, not because, I think one race is inferior, but because I think it's fucking amusing. And I like to not be PC and poke people's buttons. But at the end of the day, my thoughts on that is, merit stands on its own 2 feet, regardless of your color. You gauge someone by not only their accomplishments, but their abilities, by their personalities, by your friendship and respect for them, by all kinds of things that are unrelated to their skin color. I do see there are satanic groups that do have some sort of racism kind of interwoven. I think it's kind of silly personally. I don't think that Satanism, especially fascism, racism and especially fascism really has any place in Satanism. I just think it's kind of silly. I know there's a few organizations that kind of try to interweave those principles, and I think that they're actually kind of antagonistic to each other.
Yeah. Do you think that the days of Christianity is pretty much over? Do you think it's dying out? I mean, because people's been saying that for years, or Satanists. I remember Nicholas Schreck. It was probably late 80s or early 90s. He was on the Bob Larson show or whatever, and he made a statement that that Christianity is dead. Do you still see that? Do you think it's dying, or you think it's because to hear Christians say they're growing bigger and bigger and better, what's your thoughts, man?
I disagree. I think I don't see Christianity leaving anytime in the near future. When I say near future, I'm talking thousands of years.
Right.
And I think primarily because it takes a lot to kill a myth. I think it will, but I think the way it's going to go is nobody's going to wake up overnight. Okay, so what's going to happen is Christianity will continue to have to evolve and morph and bend their concepts and reinterpret their scriptures and their Bibles and their thou shalts. They're going to have to accept things like, say, gay marriage, shit like that, shit that's like totally against their scriptures and principles are going to have to be accepted to the point where Christianity is not even going to be what Christianity was intended to be, after enough time. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. But, I do think that they're going to be forced to evolve to the point where there's no Christian or Christ left in their Christianity.
And I see that too, man, because, I mean, if you think about it, years and years ago, what Christians say is okay to do now, they wouldn't have never done any of that. It was considered a sin or whatever. Now they're fitting things, to evolve, I guess, so to speak. And you can just tell it's eventually it's dwindling down. But like you said, I think it's going to be a while before it really actually dies out. So.
And I think you can actually kind of see it. Like if you look at, say, the newest pope, he's like the most, like, as far as popes go, like most revolutionary pope in probably history. I mean, this guy is like, I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it was him. Maybe it was the guy before him, but somebody said, one of those two popes recently, one of the last two, said something to the effect of the belief in extraterrestrial life does not mean that you cannot be Catholic. Now, didn't God just create man? He didn't say anything about fucking E.T. And now their stance on gays is a little bit different. Like, you can be gay, but still be Catholic. It's like, what? What like, these guys are just making shit up now just because, oh, shit. The United States said gay marriage is okay. Oh, well, Catholics are like, but you can still be Catholic and give us money.
Right. Now, I've been trying to ask all of my guests that I have on the show, what is one of the major issues you see with Satanism today?
Well, I really don't see any major issues with Satanism. I see some issues with certain people parading as Satanists. I see some issues with some, I don't know. I mean, so with Satanism itself, I don't really see any issues with it. I mean, I kind of think the wheel evolves forward. Right. Whether, the destruction or construction, whatever that wheel creates in its path is the way it's supposed to be. So I really don't see Satanism flawed or anything wrong with Satanism. Possibly some people that portray Satanism, but not necessarily Satanism itself.
Right. Awesome, man. Well, one more thing. I put on Facebook today, if anybody had any questions for you, they could inbox me or leave a comment. And I got one from someone. Her name's Tiffany. She asked, what's your thoughts on psychic vampires?
When you say you got one, is that one of several or just one?
Got one.
Oh, man. Really?
I know.
Fuck you, Facebook. One? Okay. Tiffany, I think I know who you're talking about, too. My thoughts on psychic vampires, I think it's nobody likes psychic vampires, but I think it's a behavioral characteristic, a neurosis. That's, you know, anything from passive aggressiveness to, to guilt trips. I mean, of course I don't like it. I try my best not to do it myself. And I try to belittle and point it out to people that attempt to do it to me. So yeah, I would look at them in a negative light for sure.
Awesome. Well, Zach, man, thank you so much for taking the time to be on, man. It's been a pleasure having you on, bro.
Awesome, man, and best of luck to your new show.
Thanks, bro. All right, guys. I'll leave the link to Satanic International Network in the description below so people can check that out. And other than that, guys, you'll know the deal. Stay safe and always stay demented.